I was told the job of a minister is to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. I came here for affliction.
So let me tell you a little bit, and there's no way I can tell you everything about Rev Dereca Blackmon. We met on the first day when we both entered ministerial school in Santa Rosa, California in the fall of 2010. I didn't know her. And after my 3.5-year journey, and she came right after me, what came out of that was a lot of love, a lot of conversations, a lot of raw and real and tripping and lots of conversations. And we became best friends forever. I'm grateful she came in for the wedding, and I'm grateful that you're going to get to have this treat. She is a huge movement person. She's given her whole life to things outside of herself. Beginning with her family, and then the human family. I respect her probably more than anybody else that I know in the work that she does. She is a spiritual activist. Her work is rooted in the work of spiritual activism, and she blends the spiritual with the activism. She was the community response for Oakland, California, and I mean the spark that struck the community response, if you saw it here in Dallas, of when Oscar Grant was murdered at the BART station. And she mobilized hundreds and thousands of people to talk about that. She is all about standing for instead of against things. She's been in the nonprofit leadership for over 20 years. She has worked with urban youth for as long as I think she's been living, raised a lot of money. I've seen her dynamically and make my jaw drop, facilitate 60 college students through an amazing process at a university in San Francisco. I bore witness to that, and I knew just how magnificent it is. But I think what I want you to know the most about Dereca is we got so close that we decided that we were going to be partners in ministry. And we announced that and moved to do a ministry in San Francisco called The Open Door. And as we got closer and closer to actually opening the open door, we got clear that we each had different things to do. And so we decided to birth twins. And Dereca decided to move into huge movements, and I decided that I wanted to be in a community and be a spiritual leader, and yet we've stayed connected. So you know how significant she is if I wanted to be her partner in ministry, and yet that also led me to be wanting to have a partner in ministry that led me here. So I know y'all can give her a great CSLDallas welcome. What she says will speak for herself. Rev Dereca Blackmon.
Good morning, CSLDallas.
Good morning.
I feel like I have been hearing great things about you for some time now. And so far, what I have seen is it's all true. You ever have somebody who kind of brags about something a lot? And you go, okay, it's good, but can it really be that good? Well, Reverend Karen Fry brags about you a lot. And you are just as good and great and amazing as she has said you are. So thank you so much for who you are. So as you've heard, I'm Rev Dereca Blackmon. I use she, her pronouns. And I like to tell you that because you can't know what gender I am by looking at me. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, look up something called the gender unicorn. That's your homework. I want to just thank Reverend Petra, Reverend Dr. Petra, Reverend Karen, and all the amazing ministers and practitioners that I have met here for having me. I'm kind of known as the irreverent reverend, So it takes a little special individual to entrust me with their congregation. And so I feel so honored that I know you love them and me so much that you knew this would be the fit that it is. I also would be remiss if I didn't say, congratulations! There is nothing like seeing someone you really love fall really in love and be happy and be married. I mean, we dreamed about this, and here it is. So thank you and congrats. Thank you for having me be a part of all that you are becoming. All right, so as you heard, I'm here to talk about the A word. Y'all know about the A word, right? Activism. So now the thing about the A word is that it is up in our society quite a bit. And it sometimes creates a lot of tension around the A word. It's like people are either like, yes, I'm in, or no, that's not part of my reality at all. And so it's fortunate that that's not what we practice in Science of Mind. We move beyond duality, yes? Yes. We see the wholeness in everything, even the A word. So I'm here to heal us of any belief that there's something about that word, that activity, that idea that we have to hold outside of the presence of God. I'm here to heal us of that belief in duality, about that strategy, that calling to show up as God. So let me start with a story. So as Reverend Karen said, I was very involved in the movement for justice for Oscar Grant. On January 1st of 2009, Oscar Grant, well, actually, let me go back to December 31st of 2008. It was Oscar Grant's mother, Wanda Johnson. It was her birthday. This is detailed in the movie Fruitvale Station, if you ever get a chance to check it out. It was her birthday, and her whole family gathered around, including her only son, Oscar. And she said to him, it's New Year's Eve in Oakland and San Francisco, and I want you to be safe. I want you to go out, but I don't want you to drive. You know, so many people on the road, there's so much happening. So would you take the train, sweetie? Would you give your mother some peace of mind? I want you to be safe. I want you to take the train. The train goes right to the city. You can see the fireworks. It stays open late. You can come home. So he was coming home with his friends from the fireworks, and a fight broke out on the train. And the police, when they arrived, they were called, and they just took a group of young men of color that they saw, and they said, it must be you, so come on out here to the platform. And some people came out and said, well, wait a minute, there's a whole lot of things going on, and, you know, we need to talk to you. And, you know, they couldn't hear that in the moment. They felt they had the right people, so they put them down on the ground, handcuffed them, and there began to be some interaction from folks. How many people have ever been unjustly accused? Somebody told you did something and you didn't do it? Right. You know that feeling. So there was some argument. Now you're in handcuffs, but officer, right? And Oscar was laid face down on the ground and shot in the back and killed. And there were people who took videos on their iPhones, and there was so much anger in the community. The officer said, I thought it was a taser. And people said, how could you think that? It's a different size, it's different, it's a whole different thing, the taser. And people were angry. And I heard about this, and I've been a practitioner for 15 years, and I was like, well, I want to respond in some kind of way. And I found out that they were having an event at the church where his family attended, which just so happened to be the place where my husband at that time grew up. So I was like, okay, now I got a place I know I can go. Let me go over here to the church. And what I responded to was the pain of a mother who lost her child. I'm a mother, a sister, and all I could see was her grief. And that is what activated me. I want to support this mother who's looking for answers about why. Why my son? He was supposed to be safe on the train. And a community that was grappling with this and having some fire and passion about it. And I thought, as our sister Tracy Brown has invited us, what's mine to do? What's mine to do here? And I had been an organizer since college, and so I got involved right away. I knew people. We met in churches. I called practitioners to come. I called other activists, people who had been working with youth. I brought everybody together, and next thing I know, we were marching, and I was calling my spiritual community. I said, you got to come on. You know, I asked my senior minister, I said, would you lead the march in a prayer? And she looked at me and she said, you pray. Aren't you a practitioner? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay. All right. So I'm praying, but there's people who are like angry. You know, religion is the opiate of the masses. You trying to get us to not call for justice. And I said, okay, we can have both. And we called the march, working for justice, praying for peace. And I'm like, all right, get you. And I kept asking spiritual people, can you come out to the march? And only a few did. And I said, but let's just be the consciousness there. And I worked with the ones who did, and it was passionate and powerful. And before I knew it, I got caught up in the wave of the, no justice, no peace. And I was on television and CNN and all of that. And my minister called me, she said, you sound like you're mad. A practitioner is the presence of peace. Okay, all right, okay. Roll it back. And then a horrible thing happened that changed everything for me. 4 police officers were killed in the city of Oakland. And a lot of people felt it was an act of retaliation. So very similar to what you experienced here in Dallas. And it was a horrible moment for all of us. And I got a phone call from one of the sort of extreme activists in our community. And they said, I want you to help me organize a protest at the funeral for the police officers, because the governor is coming to that funeral, but didn't come to Oscar Grant's funeral. And I looked at the phone, and I said, what would make you think that I would organize a protest at a man's funeral where his family is there to grieve? I got into this because of a grieving family. What would make you think such a thing? And Spirit said to me as clear as day, what would make them think that? Why'd you get that phone call? And after 14 years of running from the call, that was when I entered ministerial school. Because I wanted my come from to be something different. I wanted to not try to do this dance of I'm down, but I'm spiritual. And I wanted to just be unapologetically spiritual in my downness. Right? And so I wanted, if you called me, to know that Rev Dereca Blackmon was who you were calling. And if you didn't want somebody to pray, don't call me, right? If you didn't want no religion in your thing, that's fine, don't call me. I eventually evolved to saying, I'm showing up whether you call me or not, I'm gonna pray. You don't have to put me on the podium, but that's gonna happen. And that's how I became a spiritual activist. And that's what it means to me, right? To be a spiritual activist. So here we are with the A word, and I meet Karen Fry. And I decided that when I went to ministerial school that I wasn't even going to talk about activists. I would be anonymous and no one even know, and I was going to go to the mountaintop and be spiritual. Just going to soak myself in the Spirit. And the first class that we took in ministerial school was contemporary applications of the science of mind. with Reverend Dr. Edward Vion, who was like breaking it, cracking it open. Like, yes, don't just talk about it, be about it. Like, dang it. Okay. And then Karen, with her willingness to hold the conversation, just invited me in. And we talked it through. And she was like, but I don't understand why this. And I said, okay, let me explain this to you. And then the more I talked to her, I could feel her willingness changing me. Changing and creating an optimism in me that there were so many people who cared, but didn't necessarily have any idea what to do, right? Or who were kind of afraid of making a mistake and people being mad at them and the faux pas and the not unintentionally saying the wrong thing. And I thought, oh, my work is just not with the folks who are fighting for justice. My work is with the folks who want to be allies in this movement. See, I'm originally from Detroit, but I went to boarding school in Massachusetts and college in California, and I had been in very multiracial environments, so I knew something about that. And I realized that I had a call related to that work. The other thing that I came to realize in my journey through ministry was that anger is okay. Anger is important because pain is important. Pain is just a signal. If you had your hand in the fire and you didn't have pain, you burn it off. So I want you to say with me, pain is good. Pain is good. Ooh, that feels science and mind-ish. Pain is a signal that says, wake up, something is happening in your body or the body of your affairs. Wake up, something is happening in your relationship that needs to change. Wake up, something is happening in the way you relate to the planet and to each other. Wake up. Pain is a call to action. And then I found the book by Anger by Thich Nhat Hanh, because you know a book will find you. Right? And Thich Nhat Hanh is, the presence of peace. And he said, anger is our baby. We have to take care of it. When your baby starts crying, you can't just ignore the crying. You got to go find out what's going on. That's what anger is. It's a cry for our attention, right? If you're not angry, you're not paying attention to what's going on. I'm going to say that again. If you're not angry, you're not paying attention to what's going on. But we can't stay in that place. Once we are awake, we have to go. Reverend E., who was my senior minister, said, when the bat cracks, like baseball, know your position. You can't be over here trying to be shortstop if you're supposed to be in the outfield. What is your position when the anger comes? What is yours to do? Karen decided a long time ago is to be love. Is to be love right in the midst of that anger. That's our opportunity in how we show up. So the other thing that happened at ministerial school, and Karen will remember this interesting little moment, is we were taking a class, and one of our ministers, who's highly respected in the movement, she said, we don't do politics in the pulpit. And that was one of those moments in ministerial school I was like, are you sure about that? And what came to me, because Spirit will use you if you get out the way, what came to me, and I raised my hand and I said, if that were true, you and I couldn't even be sitting in this room together. Because it was a minister who called out his congregation and the world from his pulpit and said, we can change this non-violently with love. And that whole movement came from the church. Yes? And the whole resistance came from the church too. A letter from a Birmingham jail is about the pain that Dr. King felt because spiritual people would not show up. They said, they wrote a full-page op-ed in the paper and said Dr. King is creating a problem. See, we love the dead people.
Yes, we do.
We love them when they die. When they're alive and they're talking about something, and how many people who were alive know he wasn't always the most popular person? Come on, some of y'all know, right? His popularity rating when he died was under 50%. See, we love him now. And we love the mountaintop. I have a dream king, the white kids and black kids holding hands king. But let me tell you what else he said. It's not the words of our enemies that we'll remember. It's the silence of our friends. How are you a friend to the movement, to the change in the world, to the love that needs to happen if you're silent? When the hate is happening around you, how can we, the people of faith, the people who know the principles that change the world, how can we be silent? How many people have seen a physical healing in this science of mind movement, spiritual living movement? Right? Look around. How many people have seen an emotional healing in this Centers for Spiritual Living movement? Look around. Reverend Michael Beckwith, who is one of our teachers, said, when you get the morning paper, consider that your prayer request. That's your prayer request right there. So if you know this stuff really works, and I heard that's a thing around here. If you know this stuff really works, then how is it working on the disease of racism? Racism is a disease. If you can cure cancer, you can cure it, because there is no separation in the mind of God. You better tell me what you mean when you say your word is power unto the law. You better tell me if there's a circle that does not include healing this disease that is plaguing our planet every day on your prayer request. Yeah. Every day. What is ours to do? So she said there, no politics on the pulpit. And then I read up on Gandhi. How many people love Gandhi? Yes, we love them when they're gone. But let me tell you what he said. He said, people who say that politics has no place in religion don't know what religion is. He said that, not me. And the reason he said that is because what religion is and what this religion is a place to show the power of love. Ernest Holmes was not interested in what you believe. He was interested in what happens when you believe something. That's why it's a science. It's because you're supposed to show up and apply what you believe to see some change happen, to know the truth so that the truth comes out. Do you understand? He didn't care what faith you came from. He said people can use faith to believe in evil. People can use faith to believe in good. It's still faith. It's just a different use of faith. What are we going to do with this faith, with this love, with this power that we have? What are we going to do with it? I want to tell you that I'm excited to talk to you, CSLDallas, about racism. I'm like, ooh, yeah, you let me talk about it. You know, a lot of people don't invite me. I bet you know that, don't you? Because if we can talk about it, then we can turn away from it. We can't, you know what? Some of y'all are actually like this, not here, of course, but some people in the movement are like, don't say that word, it doesn't exist, don't see. I had my father pass and a practitioner say to me, this is going to be so good for you. Talk to the hand. I'm going to go be with Jesus, because y'all done took it too far. Right? Be with somebody, be with a mother who's grieving. Don't take sides. Who cares whose fault it was? Don't you tell me that some child, some man, some person probably brought death upon themselves. Don't you take sides. Whose fault it was. Be with a family that's grieving the loss of their child, with a community that's grieving the loss of one of their members. Be present as a healing power that changes the conversation through the power of your belief, your knowingness. That's what it means to be a practitioner. That's what my minister was calling me to be. Show up. Show up. And be the one that changes everything. It don't take a lot of people. Just the ones that are willing to answer the call that is coming from the planet. Okay, I want to talk to you about what that looks like. Okay, that's okay. We get to be present for this, right? You know you got to show up for this, right? You don't have a problem showing up for that. That's important. We're not going to say, there is no hurricane, there is no hurricane. I know you better not talk to somebody from Harvey or Irma and show up like that. So don't show up with this like that. Okay, so here's what I'm asking you to do. This is from University of Michigan, their Intergroup Dialogue Institute. So this is, how many people heard of a safe space? Okay, you know about a safe space? This is, I'm inviting you to be part of a brave space, right? So in the center here is this green circle called the comfort zone. That's the place where you learn absolutely nothing. Yes. That's the place where we like to hang out. It's what we already know, what we already like, who we're already friends with. Yes. And there is another realm, this yellow zone called the learning edge, and that's the place where learning happens. It does not happen in the green zone. You're going to have to get uncomfortable. I was told the job of a minister is to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. I came here for affliction. So when somebody claimed something else at the end and they were like, well, she was exactly. Trying to get you into the learning edge. Not because I got it all. I don't know a lot of stuff. Please feel free to come up to me afterwards and tell me some things I don't know. It's all right, because I want to be in the yellow zone right with you. People come up to me and they're like, what about disability? You're not talking about that when you talk about diversity. Oh my gosh, we were at the Religious Science CSL conference years ago, and we were having a workshop on diversity. We were coming up the escalator, and we're like, do you know where the workshop is on diversity? And some folks turned to us, and they said, we don't need diversity. We need unity and oneness. Let me tell you something you might not have realized. Diversity is a fact. We're not making it happen. Look around. This is what somebody said is the most segregated time of the week. But CSLDallas had a different idea. I'm going to tell you what, I partied and danced and loved with y'all in every race, size, color, creed, and background last night. And I was like, yes, y'all better go with y'all loving, interconnected, diversity, celebrating selves. I am having a ball in here. So there is a danger zone. We don't want to go to that place where we're attacking people, right? That's the danger zone. Go on and be constructive and critical of ideas, but not people. Let's stay away from that. How am I doing on time? What time am I? I'm good. Okay. Okay, take a breath. We're going to go into the yellow zone here. Let's take a breath. In the Western world, racism was rooted in something called white supremacy. Breathe. Oh. That was how it was brought forward. That's how slavery happened, how Jim Crow happened, why civil rights was the way that it was, is because there was a divide that said white people are better. Right? How many people recycle? Because we know we got to do something for this planet, right? Yes. Can we recycle that belief? Can we just go on somewhere with that and trade it out for a different idea of what we teach in this philosophy, which is the unity of all life, that we are all of equal value. But I'm going to invite you, take a breath, white folks. I said it. I'm going to invite you to step up to a special work because you can be in rooms that I will never be in.
Amen.
You can be in rooms that I'm not welcome in.
Amen.
And I'm going to ask you to stand for me. To stand for what you know is true, that I am one with you. Stand for what you see in your community, that we are all one. People don't believe this can happen. Go out and say, "Tain't so." You want to get 5 steps of treatment? There you go. Tain't so. Tain't so. Whatever it is that you think is not working or broken, tain't so. So I know that my brothers and sisters and trans folks in the white community can change it all. Let's celebrate. We don't celebrate the folks. Let me tell you something. Black folks did not create the Underground Railroad. They did not. The abolitionist movement, that wasn't us. It was people who had power that were willing to do something different with it. Say, power is not bad. We can do something different with it. You have power in your family, in your workplace, in your neighborhood, in your community. And if all you do, because sometimes we're going, well, what can little old me do? Right? Something. Something. Don't let being overwhelmed by everything leave you at doing nothing. Don't get apathetic because you're scared. Do you understand? You're going to make mistakes. Oops, I said the wrong thing. Okay, let's keep going because I love you. That's what we did. Let's keep going because I love you. Oops, it was oopsing all over the place. Ouch, oops, ouch, oops, ouch, ouch, oops, ouch. Right? But she kept going with me. And that's why I knew it could happen. Because it doesn't happen in the world. We want to change the world. I knew it could happen because of her. Because she showed me what it was to have an ally. Someone who could take it. When I said, "You hurt me," that hurts. I wasn't sure if I was going to tell this story, and I want you to know that I'm telling it out of a trust that you can hold it. There was a point where the deaths got to be too much for me. There was a point when Philando Castile was shot in front of his girlfriend and her daughter. And he said, "Please don't shoot me." And the little girl in the back said, "Mommy, it's okay." And I couldn't take it anymore. And I called Karen. I said, what do we have to do to wake people up, to make them care what else has to happen? I know in the 60s it took 4 little girls in a church in Alabama to change people's mind. What is it going to take right now? And because I knew I could trust her, I said something that broke both of our hearts. I said, "Karen, what if it was dogs? What if police around this country who were afraid of dogs were shooting them? What would happen?" Because I know what would happen, and so do you. There would be more councils and town halls and police chiefs fired. Because I don't have no question about us and our animals. But it broke my heart to even think that. But it was a desperation not born out of hate or fear. It was a desperation born out of the love of what I have experienced in this community. All of these ministers and practitioners and lay practitioners, because some of the best prayers in the world are never going to get stole. I knew your love And I knew it changes everything, and it heals bodies and minds all the time. And I just want it. That's all. I just want it. So that I don't have to worry about my brothers and what will happen to them in this world. So, thank you for holding that for me and for Karen. Sometimes when I talk, people think that I don't know Ernest Holmes. I've been a practitioner for 15 years, and I fell in love with this philosophy, and I actually healed my feelings about Christianity through Ernest Holmes, because he taught me that Jesus was the example.
That's right. Yes.
So here's what he has to say about this. This is from How to Use the Science of Mind, because all I care about is how we use it. I mean, I love it and the philosophy, but I've seen too many of us get tripped up on, Ernest Holmes said on page 24, chapter 3. How did you use it? Can you give me a demonstration? Because I can tell whether you use it, whether you quote it or not. You could quote it and not use it. We are affirming the unity of all life, a unity which includes all variety. Unity passes into variety and multiplicity without division. Without division. You may not know this, but Ernest Holmes put somebody out of his house who was rude to an African American. He was like, oh no, we don't do that in here. He stood up when people were complaining about there being a black church or a predominantly black church in this movement. And he said, I stand up for this church. And people were not happy. But how you going to say God is all there is? Some things I don't understand. I mean, I don't, except for over here, okay. So I love that y'all are reading this book, and I hadn't even read it, so Karen told me about it, and we were on the phone, and afterwards she said, well, I can send it to you. I said, Karen, I already got it on Kindle while we were talking. And so here, of course, is the synergy that God is. I was looking for a quote, and here's what it says. While creation is an expression of indivisible divine essence, what we variously imagine it to be creates multiplicity, right? That multiplicity can be a joyful expression of uniqueness, but it also can be an expression of divisiveness and confusion. Multiplicity, when it takes the form of superiority, can stir the fires of cruelty and hatred. It's not the diversity that's the problem. It's the superiority. And that can work on either side. Because I know a lot of black folks that think they're better than white folks. I know, that might be shocking to you. We don't tell you. I mean, I honestly, I grew up in Detroit. I know y'all but if I'm going to ask you to be in the learning edge, I got to be there. I was raised to believe I was better than white people. Don't you go out there and you ain't no white girl, you can't blah, blah, blah. Black folks are not going to tell you that. Asian folks either. You go get the education and values, you come back home. Don't marry, it's all around you. You're not alone in it, but we all got to heal it. We all got to heal it. Okay, so we talked a lot about what's going on, but if we're going to be in this philosophy, we better talk about what's ours to do. Everyone is responsible, valuable, and a work in progress. This is how we engage difference with love. If you think this don't have nothing to do with me, you have not been paying attention. Get the tape. Right. It's yours to do. Yes, it is. It's the prayer request. It's the thing that's happening right here in Dallas. And you are the vision that the world needs. This, CSLDallas. So bring somebody in here and then bring this somewhere out there, right? Everyone is responsible. Everyone is valuable. Don't be afraid that your little bit is not going to be received. You don't get cookies for being good. Well, they didn't like it when I blah, blah, blah. And nobody said anything because I do. And then I tried to help and she was like, I don't need your help, white girl. So what? You didn't do it for the validation. You didn't do it for the cookies, or at least I hope not. Don't be bragging, black people, that you got a white minister. So what? That's what you're supposed to do, is be willing to see God wherever it shows up.
That's right.
Everyone's valuable. And just live that. That's all. It's not complicated. And everyone is a work in progress. It's okay to make mistakes. That's part of being human. And you know there's no mistakes in God, so whatever thing you tripped over was just trying to get your attention. So you can either move it out the way or bless it, or both. Okay? So here's the last thing that I want to close with. You know this. It's better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. And what I heard you say, and that I heard you say every moment, is that CSLDallas, when you light your candles individually and you put them together collectively, you are a light in the world. And you shine so bright.
Yes, we do.
Thank you. Okay. I'm gonna pray. I'm gonna pray. Yeah. Okay. So I just invite you to turn within. I said to Karen, please, my favorite thing to do is pray. So my mother, Father God, I recognize you, I see you, I love you, I bless you, I revere you. In all your glory and bounty, in all the good and love and peace and forgiveness and harmony and diversity that you are, God, I love you. I see you in each and every person everywhere, in this room, in this ministry, in that community, in any place that I feel any sense of separation, in Charlottesville, in Houston, in Florida, with Irma, with Harvey. I see you in the midst. And I claim a peace that passes all understanding. I claim a healing for this planet that changes everything. And I claim that CSLDallas is a light on a hill, a beacon of consciousness that attracts people who are ready and willing and didn't even know they were ready and willing to change this whole idea, to recycle the old ideas of hatred and racism and superiority, and be willing to show up and be the presence of God that is in all and loves all and embraces all. I claim it. I claim a joyful healing that is already taking place right here. And I give thanks. I give thanks for each and every person who showed up today, ready, willing, curious, skeptical. I give thanks because it takes all of us to make this happen. I give thanks for this ministry, for Reverend Dr. Petra and Reverend Karen and all the amazing ministers and practitioners and volunteers that I have met here. And each of you who I haven't met, I love you. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for what you're doing here. It gives me hope. And then I do the most important thing that I can. I take my hands off of it. I take my authority, my to-do list, my ego, my I know how it ought to happen. I just take it all away back into the nothingness from which it came. And I give it to the law of love and light that produces the harmony and the change and the love that I know is so, like a watermelon seed produces a watermelon. I don't have to know what happens in the soil. I don't have any idea, even though I studied it in some class. That's not what matters. What matters is that I plant the seed of my intention for us to be whole. I plant the seed of love and harmony and oneness, and it happens. It's already done. It was already so before I even began to speak. So I let go and I let God, because God knows how through the law to make it manifest. And if anything that I have said, Spirit has moved you to agree, to plant a seed, to be loved, I invite you to close this prayer with me by saying, and so it is.